I guess I'm supposed to balance a beach ball on my nose or something. Raymond, what do you want me to do today? Jump.
There you go. The one thing, when we were talking to Bob about fun, and we're joined by Steve Kerr, head coach of the Golden State Warriors, it feels like the stakes are higher this year. Your first 5 years, obviously, you get there. Steph gets hurt. That year's a wash. Yesterday, it feels like this year it's really important. Not that those weren't important in the past, but this would be important to you, to Curry, to the franchise to get back to the highest level you can get.
I mean, for sure. But I don't feel like it's any different from a few years ago. You always want to win, and you always want to have a chance to win. And that's the beauty of this year, is that after the last 2 years, we now have a chance to win again. And we know what it feels like. We know what it takes. So just to have another swing at the plate is a big deal. And so maybe that's what we're feeling, because it's been a couple of years since we've been able to contend.
I've talked to you on the phone. This is my first time in person talking to you, Coach, and I know we know this. Life is short, but I said, you know what? When I do get an opportunity to talk to Coach Kerr, I'm going to give him his flowers about being a cool dude. And I heard you speak in Sacramento on what happened with the mass shooting and just the courage you have to give your take on what ails our country. So I'm going to give you love just
Thank
with
you.
that.
No, I appreciate it.
Now, back to the basketball aspect. I just assumed, because I hadn't played and you played, and you're coaching. We talk about the rotations. We talk about Klay coming back, the adjustments. As an NBA head coach, when does that job, if it ever ends, do you take it home? How much are you thinking about the team and what you want to try as you guys embark on trying to get this championship?
I'm thinking about it every second of every day. Right. You know, even on an off day, go take a hike, go play golf.
It's on your mind.
It's on my mind.
But that's because your kids are grown now, right? Because that's a big part of it.
Well, my wife would tell you I didn't really think that much about the kids either. When they were, I mean, I love them dearly, but basketball is always on my mind, but that's the beauty of it is I love it, and the passion that I have for the game. For competition, that's what drives me. That's what I enjoy about this job. And so, I feel like I actually have a pretty good work-life balance. I'm able to, like I said, take a day off and go do something fun. I can read a book and get into a TV show, and I'm not like, beating myself up over stuff, but it's always right there. You could be in the middle of cooking dinner and you're adding some ingredients and, stirring something in, you go, oh, I should run that play for Klay tomorrow.
Wow.
And it's just there it is. It's always on your mind.
Steve Kerr, head coach of the Golden State Warriors, joining Steiny and Guru. We're inside the Chase Center. So when you started your first year and you basically implemented a motion, kind of free-flowing offense, you look at some of those teams and you had Curry, you had Iguodala, you had Draymond, you had great passers on that team. Mm-hmm. This team's a little bit different in terms of, I don't think they pass as well. Mm-hmm. How do you figure out how much to stay with the motion and thinking, maybe that's not best suited for this team, maybe do it another way? Like, how do you figure out that balance?
So the way I look at it is it's how the possession starts that has changed. I mean, if you watched a tape of our game 7 years ago and you watched a tape of our game today, we're running totally different stuff. Now, the movement to me comes after the initial attack, right? So, I've always felt as a coach, you have to adapt to your personnel. So the fact that we still have Steph, Klay, Draymond, we're going to play a lot of off-ball stuff. Draymond's going to handle the ball a lot in transition and in the half court. We're not a team that's built to play like Dallas with Luka or, right. James Harden in Houston and back in the day. Or, Steph and Klay are best served with a multifaceted attack. And Draymond is best served getting 8 or 9 assists as a kind of a point forward. So that's how I look at our team. Now, within that, we're running different stuff in the initial attack. We've added stuff for Jordan Poole. We actually run a lot more pick and roll now than we used to. But what happens is the movement after the fact, that'll never change for me. That's my core belief as a basketball coach, that you got to attack, but once the play breaks down, if the ball doesn't move, you're not going to get anything done. And so while I maintain my same philosophy, we've gone about different ways of getting to it.
Wow. Can you speak to the great start you guys got off to, the umbrella of Clay's coming back at some point, Dre going out, and now Steph going out? And I think a lot of people that I hear, myself included, think, the NBA's a video game. Guys get hurt, they'll come back, and ramifications could be a strong word, but, nobody's thrown off. How difficult has it been, and how difficult will it be to incorporate Steph back, and then just dealing with, Jordan starting, then coming off the bench? Mm-hmm. How have you handled all that, and how difficult has it been?
It's been different this year than it ever was before, because we've always dealt with injuries. We've had playoff runs where KD missed the first round, and Steph missed 7-8 games before coming back in the middle of the playoffs. And but we had a lot more stability with those teams. We had, as you mentioned, we had more passing. We had point guards like Sean Livingston and Andre Iguodala, who point forward, basically. We had passers with, Bogut and David West. So there was a little more sort of continuity that existed with those teams that allowed us to withstand injuries and adversity a lot better. This team being young and new, even though we have our core group, we got a lot of new guys, it's been a lot more challenging. It's been a lot more difficult. And so this last 6 weeks, for sure, we've been off kilter, and it's shown in our play, and we're trying to right the ship here before we get into the playoffs next week.
Speaking of the playoffs, Jordan going to start in the playoffs if you're healthy?
It's a possibility. I mean, we got to see where Steph is. I think for sure we will.
Because you said you liked initially the Curry, Poole, Clay playing together.
Yeah, I like that, but when you get into the playoffs and you got to guard, name it, Paul George or LeBron, or not this year, but sorry, I didn't. Yeah, just a subtle jab. So.
Well, today he said the shop came out today, and he said he wants to play with Steph Curry.
Is that right?
Yeah, ideally in this postseason.
yeah.
I bet.
But you got to guard people like that, and so you have to account for that defensively, and that's the balance as a coach in the playoffs. You got to find the right combinations that can score and either survive or thrive defensively, and that's why we've been really good in the past, because we got all these two-way players who survive the 16-win playoff schedule that you have to reach. Now, this is a different team. It's younger, it's smaller, and I think we're going to have to navigate a lot more possibility.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking is, back during the run, you knew you were going with a small lineup when push came to shove. You were going with Curry, Clay, Durant, Iguodala, and Draymond. Are you going to have to play it game by game this year, series by series? How do you think you're going to determine who's playing late in the game?
Matchups for sure will determine a lot. The tough part about this season, we haven't seen Steph, Clay, Jordan, Andre, Draymond, Wiggins. Those guys literally have not played a single game together. And so we're going to have to experiment and see how it looks. And if it looks good, we can stay with it and expand on it a little bit. But if it doesn't work well, then we've got to alter the lineups.
I was asking Bob just a second ago about Draymond and his uniqueness. And I come in and I tell Steiny every day, I said, Dre, he telling coach to challenge every play. And again, you playing and him being kind of your emotional leader. Can you speak to how you embrace that? And there's never any friction, because sometimes from afar, Steve, I feel like, I know Coach Kerr, man. But you at the post-game presser, you're always saying you know where he's coming from.
I love Draymond. I will go to war with him for the rest of my life till the day I die. He's the guy I would want next to me in a fight, in a competition of any sort. We are always going to get into it. There's a mutual competitive fire that lives in each of us that we see in each other that sometimes boils over the top. And I'm good with it because that's what makes Draymond who he is. And what I've learned as a coach is there's times that I've got to just give him his space and let him go nuts.
Wow.
And so I'm good with that. I just found out yesterday I'm leading the NBA in technicals for coaches.
Really? Wow.
I'm number one in the league.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so I thought I was being really calm this year, but it turns out Draymond and I are both at the top of the league in tees, so who knew?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Because the challenge the other night was one of the easiest. You got to be. I see you sitting back there looking at your guys with the tablet, and they're saying, "No, I don't challenge that." And Draymond's gone with a finger challenge.
Well, he did it about 4 different times.
Yes, exactly.
And they all would have been terrible decisions.
Yeah.
So the following night, though, the next night in Sacramento, the first time that Draymond got called for a foul and did it, I challenged it automatically because after bypassing him 4 times the night before, it's like, all right, I gotta give him his due.
Hey, Steve, thank you so much, man.
Right.
Really appreciate it. Good luck in the playoffs.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And best of luck.